For those of you who would rather not have to install Windows Server to have your own SQL Server, there is now another option. In 2016, Microsoft announced they'd be porting their prolific SQL Server from Windows to Linux. On Microsoft's website, they offer several more options for running SQL Server. The ones they have tutorials for are installation directly on a Linux machine running either Red Hat, Ubuntu, or SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. You can also run it in a Linux container on Docker or in Azure using a virtual machine template. Here I have a virtual machine running Ubuntu or Linux Mint, which is a version of Ubuntu, and I'm going to go into detail on how to install it. If you visit Microsoft's website, they outline the process in decent detail. In my experience, just running the commands doesn't seem to work. In order to run the commands, I run them as super user. Here I am going to add the keys. Here I'm going to register the repository. Now that I have registered the keys and the repository, I can now exit as super user. I will run an update. Next, I'm going to run the command that actually installs SQL Server. Next, we are going to run the setup. You create the password, and the username is capital S, capital A. Now, if you look at MS SQL config, here are all the things you can do. Next, we are going to install the Microsoft SQL tools. Once again, running as super user. And we must import the repository. Now that we are no longer super user, we are going to run update. Now we can install the Microsoft SQL tools and the Unix ODBC dev package. Now we are going to make Sqlcmd/bcp accessible from the bash shell. Now that we have Microsoft SQL Server installed and the MS SQL tools, we can use Sqlcmd. We can use the command to log into the server and run commands. I already have the pubs database created and installed. And as you can see, this is what gets returned. You can run queries from command line. You type exit to quit. Now I am going to show you running queries using files. Now, if we open, as you can see, the query is designed to count all the titles from the titles table. Now, if you want to see all that Sqlcmd can do, here are all the different parameters. You can use your login ID, password, specify a server, a host name. The other two that I use most frequently is -I and -Q. -Q allows you to run a single line query, and -I allows you to specify an input file. Another one that might be useful is -O to specify an output file. Now I'm going to run the same file as before, but instead I'm going to specify an output file. Now if we open up output.txt, we see something similar to what we saw in the console window. Now I'm going to demonstrate connecting to the SQL Server using a GUI client. This is called Sqlcmd. I have already set up the settings. I have it set to connect to a Microsoft SQL Server at localhost on port 1433, which is the default port for localhost. I set the username to SA, my password, and I'm connecting to the pubs database. Now I can run really any queries that I want from here. I could even use built-in functions. I'm going to use the wildcard. There you go. The queries I showed are very basic, but you could run much more complicated queries if you wanted. Now I'm going to show you a Python script designed to interact with the database. Now, as you can see, I import something called _MSSQL. I use it to connect to localhost, username SA, with the password and the database. I execute the query to get all titles from the titles. And for each row in it, I print out title equals and then row angle brackets the column title, and then I close the connection. Now, what I use to get _MSSQL is actually a library called PyMSSQL. It's a library designed to allow for you to interact with a Microsoft SQL Server in Python. It has two imports that you can do, PyMSSQL or _MSSQL. The _MSSQL is much more low level, while the PyMSSQL is much more high level. But the _MSSQL is easier to use. This is a program I have written in C# that will allow you to connect to and query from a Microsoft SQL for Linux database. I had to include the System.Data.SqlClient. I had to create a connection string and populate it with the correct source, database name, username, and password. I pass it to an SQL connection object constructor to create a connection and open it. If it opens, it writes connection open to the console. If it does not, it passes cannot open connection. After I've created the connection, I create a command. I create a new command by passing it the string that is the query and then the object that is the connection. Now, in order to get the response from this query, I have to execute it, and the execute returns an SQL data reader, which I store in reader. All of this right here looks disgusting because it is. Unfortunately, the reader does have a get values. But instead of returning an array of objects, you pass it an array of objects and it stores the values into that array. I could not get that to work the way I wanted it to, so instead I created a list and I looped through the reader using the get value, which gets me the column number, the column at index, starting at 0 obviously, and then I add it to the list. Now it's a list of lists because you can have it in 2 dimensions. I have a list of rows and then a list of columns. The list of rows are lists and the columns are objects. I add all of the objects to the initial list here, and that I add each list to the outer list here. I turn the outer list into an array, use a for each loop to loop through it, and then loop through the inner array and write the object to the console using the toString separated by a space. Then I terminate each row, and then I close the connection. And that is everything inside of the titles table, separated by spaces. It's hard to see since the text wrapping. But this is one row, terminated, so on and so forth. As you can see, connection open. There are some features not yet implemented in SQL Server for Linux. A comprehensive list can be found on Microsoft's website under the release notes for SQL Server vNext on Linux. Here, you can see the unsupported features and services. Probably the highlights, the ones that most people will miss the most, would be the system extended stored procedures, database mirroring, Windows authentication, and reporting services. As the port matures, more features will come to the Linux version, but for now, these features are not available.